By Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, crucial weeks. The GMOA calls for increased safety adherence while authorities determine possibility of subclusters cropping up from first contacts. Crunch time. With the 20th Amendment set to be debated this week, the government says bill will be passed with amendments while opposition pushes for postponement. Spreading the news. Ex-SIS Chief Nilantha Jayawardena tells his to commission that by the 11th of April, at least 10 to 15,000 people should have had knowledge of attack warning. Game over. After a 6-day cat-and-mouse game, MP Rishad Badiuddin arrested in Dehiwala hideout and remanded until the 27th of this month. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Monday the 19th of October 2020.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavathina Sakura Mal Suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamma Ketanayake. Let's start with your local stories, the pandemic situation. The Government Medical Officers Association has warned the public to follow the government's health and safety rules to the letter for what they termed a crucial 2 weeks ahead, as the authorities focus on determining the fallout from the initial COVID-19 cases of the Minuwangoda cluster. GMOA editor Dr. Harit Aludge warned that any possible cases stemming from exposure to the initial cases could lead to subclusters cropping up in society and called for extra care to be practiced in public to avoid a serious increase of new cases.
87 COVID-19 infections were added to the Minuwangoda COVID-19 cluster today, thus placing the overall number of cases emanating from there at 2,202. Meanwhile, a resident from the Kappala junction in the area of Kandana, who runs an eatery at the Manning Market in Colombo, has been diagnosed with COVID-19. His infection was confirmed after he underwent a PCR test at the teaching hospital in Ragama yesterday. Health authorities stated that the person in question had also served as a cashier at the eatery and that around 200 persons visit the eatery on a daily basis. In the meantime, 16 officers at the Armour Street police station were directed to undergo quarantine. This measure was taken after the daughter of one of the sergeants at the police station was infected with COVID-19. In other developments, 2 security guards of the Lanka Electricity Company in Kandana have been diagnosed with the virus. Health authorities state that a further 14 employees of the company, in addition to the 2 security guards, were diagnosed with COVID-19. With one of the 2 security guards being identified as a resident in the area of Riaulla in Kandana, his family members were directed to undergo self-quarantine. However, a public health inspector issued stern warnings to the son of the security guard residing in Riaulla after he visited a salon in Mahabaghe.
ඔයාට දැන් මම ශනිකව ඉන්නේ උදේ කතා කරලා කිව්වත් පොසිටිව් වෙලා ඉන්න තාත්තා කවුරුවත් එළියට යන්න එපා කියලා. දැන් ඔයා කොහෙද කොණ්ඩ කපන්න ගියේ කියන්නේ? මහාවයි. කොහෙද හිටියේද මෙච්චර? එතන හිටියේ මං එනවා ඊට පස්සේ කොහෙද ගියේ? කොහෙද? මෙච්චරලා අපි ඇවිල්ලත් දැන් මෙතන සෑනලා වань. සුත්‍රියා හිටියේ ඊට පස්සේ ගියේ නෑ. එතනට ගියේ නෑ. දැන් ඉතර කිසිම කෙනෙකුට එළියට යන්න බෑ. දැන් ඕගොල්ලෝ පුළුවන් තරම් බොරුම කියන්නේ. මුලින්ම දවසේ දැන් ලෙකෝ එකේ තාත්තා වැඩ කරද්දී මම අම්මට කතා කළා. ඒතර අම්මා කිව්වේ ලෙකෝ එකේ වැඩට ගියේ අගෝස්තු මාසෙ කිව්වා. ඕගොල්ලෝ වසන් කරන්න වෙන්නේ ව්‍යාප්තනෙකට.
In the meantime, a minor staffer at the district hospital in Diulapitiya was identified as COVID-19 infected. A hospital spokesman said that the contacts of the patient have been directed to undergo quarantine and that the hospital is carrying out its activities as usual. In another development, a member of the clergy at the Vidyaratana Pirivena in the area of Meegahatanna has been diagnosed as a COVID-19 patient. The police stated that 9 monks at the Pirivena and 17 of their contacts have been directed to undergo self-quarantine. Meanwhile, after the confirmation of 25 fresh COVID-19 cases yesterday from the areas of Ovitigala, Badugama and Badugama Nava Janapadaya in the Matugama Divisional Secretariat, they were declared as isolated areas. With those areas continuing to be in isolation, measures are taken to identify the associates of COVID-19 patients from those areas. Elsewhere, a shipping company employee who is a resident of Ward Place has been diagnosed with the virus. Health authorities say the person is identified as an associate of one of the employees at the Colombo dockyard who was diagnosed with the virus on Saturday.
මේ ආශ්‍රිතයන්ගේ බස් සතයක පමණක් ශාල සංඛ්‍යාවක් ඒ බස් රථයේ ගියපු ඔක්කොමට පොඩි සංඛ්‍යාවක් කරනවා ඔක්කොමට වගේ කොවිඩ් ආසාදනය වෙලා තිබෙනවා මොවුන් ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්න ගම ඒ ගමෙන් පැතිරෙන්න තියෙන එක කළුතර ප්‍රදේශයට යන තියෙන එක තමයි වළක්වීමට ඒකත් අපි ඒ ආකාරයෙන් හුදකලාවකට ලක් කිරීමට කටයුතු කරේ රජය විසින් වෛද්‍යවරුන් උත් සඳහන් කරනවා මේක තාම සමාජගත වෙලා නැහැ මේක තාම පාලනයක තිබෙන්නේ.
In a separate development, the villages of Gayyala, Urupidiya, in Narua and Pallevala in Kuliyapitiya were also placed under isolation after the detection of 11 COVID-19 infections from the areas. Out of the 11 infections, 7 have been identified as employees of the garment factory in Minuwangoda, while the remaining 4 are persons who had attended a wedding. However, the manner in which the persons who attended the wedding contracted the virus is yet to be ascertained.
කුලියාපිටියේ කොවිඩ් රෝගයේ තත්ත්වය යම්කිසි බැරෑරුම් තත්ත්වයක් තියෙනවා අපිට නිශ්චිත වශයෙන්ම මූලාශ්‍රය කොහෙද කියලා හොයාගන්න බැරි රෝගීන් 4 දෙනෙක් පමණ වාර්තා වෙනවා. ඒ අතින් බලනකොට අපි ඇත්තටම යම්කිසි අර්බුදකාරී තත්ත්වයක් තියෙනවා. ඒක හින්දා අපි ඉතා වේගයෙන් මෙම ආශ්‍රිතයන් හඳුනා ගැනීම පවතිනවා.
දැන් රෝගී පළමු පෙළේ ආශ්‍රිතයෝ ටික අපි හඳුනාගත්තා. ඒත් එක්ක දෙවෙනි පෙළ තුන්වෙනි පෙළක් සමහර තැන්වල සිව්වෙනි පෙළක් නිර්මාණය වෙලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපිට මේ පළවෙනි පෙළේ ස්පර්ශකයන්ගෙන් දෙවෙනි රැල්ලක් නිර්මාණය වෙනවාද එහෙම නැත්නම් දෙවෙනි පෙළ ඇතුලේ රෝගී පොකුරු නිර්මාණය වෙනවාද කියන කාරණේ තීරණය කිරීම සඳහා තව දවස් 14ක විතර කාලයක් අපිට විශේෂයෙන්ම අපි ජනතාවට කියනවා ඉදිරි සති දෙකක කාලය ඊටාම තීරණාත්මකයි. දැන් උදාහරණ විදිහට පොළොන්නරුවෙන් රෝගියෙක් වාර්තා වුණාම ඒ අහමු රෝගියෙක්. නමුත් ඒ රෝගියා හරහා පොළොන්නරු ප්‍රදේශයේ පොකුරක් නිර්මාණය වෙනවාද කියලා අද අපිට කියන්න බෑ. ඒකට තව සති දෙකක අපිට බලාගෙන ඉන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. නිසා මේ සති දෙක තුල විශේෂයෙන්ම ජනතාවට කියනවා තමන්ගේ වගකීම හරි විදිහට ඉෂ්ට කරන්න. මූලික සෞඛ්‍ය ක්‍රමානුකූල පුරුදු පිළිපදින්න.
In the meantime, Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva announced this evening that all supermarkets, pharmacies and shops selling essential items in curfew-imposed areas in the Gampaha district will open for public tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Safeguard hand sanitizer. නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නිරෝගීමත් දිවියකට.
Now, Parliamentarian Rishad Badiuddin was arrested today at a hideout in Dehiwala 6 days after the Attorney General's orders to the acting IGP to arrest the Eastern Province politician for misappropriation of 9.5 million rupees in 2019. Badiuddin was produced before court this evening along with 5 other suspects who assisted him in evading arrest, and they were all remanded until the 27th of this month. In the meantime, the Attorney General's coordinating officer revealed that the parliamentarian's arrest saga would not have dragged on for such a long time had the CID followed the AG's verbal instructions to keep him under surveillance prior to his arrest.
The Attorney General ordered the acting IGP to arrest Parliamentarian Rishad Badiuddin and 2 other suspects on the 13th of October. It related allegations of misappropriating 9.5 million rupees from an IDP project from the Ministry of Industry and Commerce in transporting internally displaced persons to polling stations during last year's presidential election. However, multiple police teams of the Criminal Investigation Department only managed to arrest 2 drivers of Badiuddin, an accountant from the IDP project and a constable attached to the MP's security. After 6 days of failed attempts by the CID to arrest Badiuddin, the MP was finally apprehended during the early hours today from a housing complex located at the Ebenezer Place in Dehiwala. The MP was arrested in a backdrop of a writ petition being filed by his lawyers before the Court of Appeal seeking to prevent his arrest. After being arrested, however, Badiuddin was brought to the CID. Furthermore, 6 other suspects, including the owner of the house where Badiuddin resided at the time of arrest, were also taken into custody over assisting the MP to evade arrest.
We have arrested suspects, including a lady doctor, in connection with this particular incident for the offence of harbouring. According to the CID investigation, it has been observed that apart from the arrested suspects, there are suspects who have involved in the incident, especially to harbour the suspect and aiding and abetting to conceal the suspect. So we are taking action in order to arrest them, and they have been identified by the investigation officers and a special police team has been deployed to arrest them. The ex-minister would be produced before the fourth magistrate under the charges of Section 386 of Ceylon Penal Code, along with Section 5 of the Public Property Act. In addition to that, he has committed an offence under the Section 82 and 86 of the Presidential Election Act.
After more than 10 hours of interrogations at the CID, Badiuddin was produced before the 4th Magistrates Court this evening. Moreover, 5 of the other 6 suspects were also produced before court today. Making submissions before court, Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piris stated that MP Badiuddin had disembarked from the vehicle at around 2 to 3 pm while travelling from Mannar to Colombo on the 13th this month. Accordingly, the 4th Magistrate ordered to remand the 5 suspects as well as Badiuddin until the 27th of this month. In the meantime, the coordinating officer of the Attorney General, Nishara Jayaratne, responded to the accusations levelled at the Attorney General's department over publicising the instructions given by the Attorney General to arrest MP Badiuddin. She said that the AG summoned the officers of the CID and gave them oral instructions 24 hours before he gave written instructions to the CID and the acting IGP pertaining to the arrest. Jayaratne added that the AG also informed the CID officers to keep MP Rishad Badiuddin under surveillance and to be vigilant 24 hours in advance as preparation for the arrest. She noted that MP Badiuddin would have not escaped had the CID officers carried out their duties properly after accepting the verbal instructions given by the Attorney General. Furthermore, she said that the officers of the CID had a discussion with the Attorney General today, during which it was revealed that the CID conducts over 10 investigations pertaining to Badiuddin apart from this case. Accordingly, she said that the CID was instructed to appoint a team who are well experienced to carrying out effective investigations on all the cases concerning MP Badiuddin.
Now, shifting the focus to another subject, former Director of the State Intelligence Service Nilantha Jayawardena believes that the forewarning given to him by a foreign intelligence agency ahead of the Easter Sunday attacks might not have been so secretive a mere week later. Testifying before the Presidential Commission probing the attack, Jayawardena was insistent that around 15,000 people should have been aware of the intelligence if the former IGP had shared the intelligence as he claims he did. He said that the reach of it was so vast, even Zahran Hashim himself may have been aware of the foreign intelligence warning.
Former Director of the State Intelligence Service Nilantha Jayawardena was cross-examined today at the proceedings of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Easter Sunday terror attacks by President's Counsel Shamil Pereira, who represents Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjith. He asked the witness whether he would accept it if another witness had testified before the Commission, saying that he did not inform the National Security Council that Zahran Hashim is a terrorist. The former SIS Director replied that he did not use the word terrorist, but did inform the Security Council that Zahran has IS ideologies and that he is motivating followers. The President's Counsel then asked the witness whether former President Maithripala Sirisena ordered the arrest of Zahran during the National Security Council meeting held in January of 2019. In response, Jayawardena said that an order wasn't issued by the former president to arrest Zahran, but he did ask as to why he hadn't been arrested yet when Zahran was mentioned. The witness added that in any case, by then Pujit Jayasundara was not in the Security Council and that Hemasiri Fernando and Ravi Seniviratne were the ones there. The President's Council asked the former Director of SIS whether the Security Council was aware that Zahran Hashim had conducted 7 training camps at various locations in the country and operated 2 centres where he conducted workshops. Jayawardena replied that as the State Intelligence Service, they knew about the Blackpool training camp in Nuwara and the SIS did not have information on other training camps. As such, he added that officers were not deployed for surveillance duties. The President's Counsel representing the Cardinal then asked Jayawardena as to why the forewarning given by a foreign intelligence agency on the 4th of April was not mentioned in the intelligence documents forwarded to the then IGP on the 18th and 19th of April. The witness replied, quote, "I will respond with an example. We receive information that Simeon is set to commit a crime on a particular date at a particular time. We also come to know that Simeon has also bought a gun for the purpose. When acting on the matter, attention is not initially given to find where he got the gun from or where the crime will be committed. Instead, we target Simeon, who is the criminal. Like that, Zahran's name is mentioned in the 4th of April piece of information. I have included that name on the intelligence documents of 18th and 19th of April. We had been saying since 2017 to render Zahran inactive. Besides, by the 11th of April, around 10,000 persons may have been aware of the April 4th forewarning given by a foreign intelligence agency." Unquote. That remark prompted the chairman of the commission to ask Jayawardena, quote, "You made a serious statement. Did you make it with responsibility, since you said that by the 11th of April, around 10,000 persons were aware of the April 4th forewarning?" Unquote. To that, Jayawardena responded, quote, "I made the statement with responsibility. Former IGP Pujit Jayasundara told the Commission recently that when I sent the April 4th forewarning to him on the 9th of April, he sent it to the Police Special Task Force. As far as I know, there are around 5,000 STF personnel across the country." Next, he says that this information was given to the VIP Security Division. If we allocate 2 personal security officers per parliamentarian, around 450 personal security officers should be aware of this information. Some ministers have 7 to 10 personal security officers. That means around 800 personal security officers should have been aware of this, but all 225 parliamentarians say that they were unaware of it. If such a piece of information comes to one of my personal security officers, I'm not spared from it. Then it is said that the foreign intelligence was sent to the senior DIG in charge of the Western Province. That means around 8,000 police officers in the Western Province should be aware of this. Then the embassy asks from me on the morning of the 20th whether it is the same piece of information sent before. That means even the embassy had been aware of this. When that is the case, even Zahran might have been aware of it, despite it being intelligence sent by a foreign agency in confidence. When adding all of them together, around 15,000 persons, let alone 10,000, should have been aware of this intelligence. Former Director of the State Intelligence Service, Nilantha Jayawardena, further said, quote, "Now everyone is trying to pin the blame on me, saying that I did not take the April 4th foreign intelligence for discussion at the Intelligence Coordination meeting held on the 9th of April. I made the National Intelligence Chief aware of this piece of intelligence on the 7th of April. When one of the documents he sent to me mentioned that Rashad Badiuddin's brother had helped Zahran flee to India, I told him that this will become a political issue. A year later, that too has become a reality. I came to know while listening to testimonies at the Commission that then Defence Secretary Hemisri Fernando had told National Intelligence Chief Cicero Mendes to ask me to take this information for discussion during the meeting on the 9th. Had I been told that, it would not have been difficult to take it up for discussion. But the National Intelligence Chief did not inform me of such. I don't have powers to read minds. As such, if I am to take the responsibility over failing to prevent the attack, I will only bear it until the 7th of April when the piece of information was with me." Unquote. Then the President's Counsel representing the Cardinal asked the witness whether he is attempting to wash his hands off by saying that information was sent to responsible sections. In reply, Jayawardena said, quote, "I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. I'm not pointing the finger saying that the former IGP and the Defence Secretary are wrong. I don't have the right to say that. I'm not washing my hands off. But this Commission and the subsequent legal process will determine whether I'm wrong, who's wrong, whether I should be punished or go to prison." Unquote.
We will see you shortly on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, with the much-awaited debate on the draft bill of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution set to be held on Wednesday and Thursday this week, the opposition has urged the Speaker of Parliament to postpone the debate, citing COVID-19 pandemic threat. However, the government ministers say that with parliamentary sessions having adhered to government-stipulated health and safety regulations in the past weeks with no incident, there is no obstacle to the debate being held this week. Further, the government says that it expects to pass the draft bill by Thursday, inclusive of the committee's stage amendments, which will also take into consideration the Supreme Court ruling.
The draft bill of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution is set to be taken up for debate in Parliament on the 21st and 22nd of this month. Accordingly, representatives of political parties allied with the government held discussions last afternoon at the Prime Minister's official residence at Vijay Ramamawatha and stated that steps would be taken to pass the draft bill with amendments.
20 වෙනි සංශෝධනයේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා බදාදා වෙනකොට ඒක බ්‍රහස්පතින්ද සම්මත වෙනවා සංශෝධන සහිතව සම්මත වීමක් තමයි සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ.
දැන් මෙතන තියෙනවා 19ට පස්සේ තිබ්බ ව්‍යවස්ථාව. මේකෙන් තියෙන්නේ 19ට ඉස්සෙල්ලා තිබ්බ ව්‍යවස්ථාව. මෙන්න මා ළඟ තියෙනවා 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනය. එතකොට මා ළඟ තියෙනවා ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ මේක තිබ්බ තීන්දුව. මේ තුන සංසන්දනය කළොත් මේ 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනයේ තියෙන්නේ මේ ව්‍යවස්ථාවටම තමයි ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒකින්ද කාටවත් ඒක අභියෝග ලක් කරන්න බෑ.
20 වන සංශෝධනය විවාදයට රජය එකඟ වෙලා තිබෙනවා වැඩිපුර පැය 10 වෙන් කර දීමට. රජය ඉදිරිපත් කරපු සංශෝධන වලට අමතරව ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ යම්කිසි සංශෝධනයක් නිර්දේශ කරනවා නම් ඒකත් රජයේ යෝජිත සංශෝධනයක් හැටියට කමිටුව අධිරේදී ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමට රජය සූදානම්.
However, Chief Opposition Whip Lakshman Kirialla has made a written request to the Speaker of Parliament to adjourn the debate in view of the pandemic situation in the country. The Chief Opposition Whip argued that seating arrangements in Parliament are contrary to the government gazetted quarantine regulations and that it is also against the law to hold Parliament sessions when public meetings have been restricted. Opposition leader Sajit Premadasa echoed these concerns while calling on the Speaker to accede to these requests.
ගරු කතානායකතුමාගෙන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා මේ සතියේ පවත්වන පාර්ලිමේන්තු රැස්වීම් කල්දමන මේ රෙගුලාසි වලින් ස්ථාපනය කර තිබෙන මීටරයේ පරතරය හරියාකාරව පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ മന്ത്രിවරුන්ගේ ආසන පැනවීමේදී එය නිවැරදිව සකස් කරන තෙක් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව කල්දමලා කෙටි කාලයක් තුල මේ අඩුපාඩුව නිවැරදි කරන්නට ගරු කතානායකතුමා පියවර ගත යුතුමයි.
කිසිසේත්ම මෙවැනි විවාදයක් පැවැත්වීම සඳහා සුදුසු පරිසරයක් නොවී තිබෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම ආණ්ඩුව විසින් නිරෝධායනය සඳහා ඒ පනත උපයෝග කරගෙන ගැසට් නිවේදනයක් නිකුත් කොට තිබෙනවා. සමාජය හැසිරිය යුතුයි. මා දන්න විදිහට ඒ ගැසට් නිවේදනයට අනුරූපී වන පරිදි නම් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව කැඳවන්නවත් බෑ.
මේ තරම් කල් අපි පාර්ලිමේන්තුව මුණ ගැහුණා, අනපනත් සම්මත කෙරුවා, විවාද වලට අපි සම්බන්ධ වුණා. ඒ හැම දෙයක්ම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ කටයුතු කෙරුවේ සෞඛ්‍ය උපදෙස් අනුව. නිසා අපි පක්ෂ නායක රැස්වීම පැවැත්වුවා කතානායකතුමාගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන්. මේ සතියේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ න්‍යාය පත්‍රය අපි අනුමත කරගෙන ඉවරයි.
Accordingly, the People's Movement for a Just Society launched the signing of an online petition against the 20th Amendment today. Meanwhile, Chief Incumbent of the Sunetra Devi Pirivena, Venerable Professor Madhagoda Abhayathissatera, offered his suggestions on the amendments to be made before the passing of the 20th Amendment.
කොටිම කියනවා නම් 13 වෙනි සංශෝධනයේ මේ ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ තිබෙන තාක්කල් බලවත් ජනාධිපතිවරයෙක් පැවතීමේ අවශ්‍යතාව තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනය ගෙනල්ලා ජනාධිපතිවරයාගේ බලය තහවුරු කිරීම අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම සිදු කළ යුත්තක් කියන එක අවධාරණය කරනවා. මම ඊයේ ජනාධිපතිවරයා සමග පැයකට අධික කාලයක් සාකච්ඡා කළා. ඒ වගේම අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරයා සමග අද පැයකට අධික ප්‍රමාණයක් සාකච්ඡා කළා. අපි බොහොම සුමුදු ලෙස කාරුණිකව සිහිපත් කරන්නට කැමති වෙනවා. මේ කාරණාවල් ඉවත් කරලා 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනය අරගෙන එන්න කියලා. එක කාරණාවක් තමයි හදිසි පනත් ගෙන ඒමට තියෙන ව්‍යවස්ථාපිත අවස්ථාව අහුරා ඇති මෙම වගන්තිය ඉවත් නොකරන හැටියට අපි බොහොම කාරුණිකව ආණ්ඩුවට සඳහන් කරනවා. දෙවෙනි කාරණාව සමාගම් විගණනය කිරීමට අදාළ ව්‍යවස්ථා ප්‍රතිපාදනය එලෙසම පවත්වා ගත යුතුයි. ඊළඟට ජනාධිපතිතුමා රිත්පුරේශිභාවයේ තියාගෙන තමයි එදා මේ යුද්ධය අවසන් කරන්න මහා දායකත්වයක් දුන්නේ. හැබැයි මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ හැමෝම ගෝඨාභයලා නෙමෙයි කියලා. ඒත් එක්කම රජයේ වියපහදයන් අඩු කිරීම, ඒ වගේම කැබිනට් ඇමතිවරුන් 30 දෙනෙකුට සීමා කරපු නීතිය. නැත්තම් මේකේ සීමාව ඇතෑරියොත් එහෙම කොතන නතර වේද කියලා අපි දන්නේ නැහැ.
Meanwhile, Venerable L.A. Gunwansatera met with the Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, today to discuss his views on the 20th Amendment.
බොහොම සාධාරණ ඉල්ලීම් තොගයක් ඉදිරිපත් කළා තියෙන්නේ මේ රට ගැන, මේ රටේ ජනතාව ගැන, මේ රටේ අනාගත දරු පරපුර ගැන හිතලා පුද්ගල ඉතිහා බලාගෙන හදපු යෝජනා නෙවෙයි. ආදීනතුමා ඊටාම වැදගත් ප්‍රකාශයක් කළා. අපේ ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලාගේ ඉල්ලීම් වලට තමයි මමත් එකඟ කියලා. ඉතින් අපිට ඒක සතුටක්. එතුමා සම්පූර්ණයෙන් අනුමත කරා අපි විසින් යෝජනා කරන ලද සියලු යෝජනා ඒ විදිහට ඉෂ්ට විය යුතුයි, ඉෂ්ට කළ යුතුයි කියලා.
ආණ්ඩුව කියන්නේ සංශෝධන සහිතව මේක ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා කියලානේ. ඒ සඳහා ඔබ වහන්සේලා එකඟ නැද්ද?
නේද සංශෝධන කියලා බෑනේ. සංශෝධන අපිට පෙන්නන්න බෑ. අපි කියපු කරුණු කාරණා ඉෂ්ට නොකළොත් අපි ප්‍රසාදයක් නෑ මේ ආණ්ඩුව කරේ.
ඔබ වහන්සේලා තරහ කරගෙන ආණ්ඩුවට ගමනක් යන්න පුළුවන් නේද?
ඒක අපිට වැඩක් නෑ. අපි බලන්න රටපැත්ත.
In the meantime, Venerable Omalpe Sobithatera has also sent a letter to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa expressing his views regarding the 20th Amendment. The letter says that with the 20th Amendment having earned the displeasure of the clergy, it urged the President to pay attention to the teachings and suggestions of the Venerable Mahasangha or risk tarnishing the trust the clergy and the Buddhist community has placed in him. Meanwhile, the Malwata and Asgiria sects expressed their stance on the 20th Amendment today.
එම ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ වැදගත්ම අවශ්‍ය වන මහජනතාවටගේ සුබසිද්ධිය සඳහා යොමු වන රජයේ සුබසිද්ධිය සඳහා රටේ දියුණුව සඳහා අදාළ වන ඒ ඉතාම හොඳ කරුණු අරගෙන අනිත්වා එක්ක සංශෝධනය කරමින් එහෙම නැතිනම් ඒවා ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරමින් සකල ලාංකීය ජනතාවගේම සුබසිද්ධිය සලසාලන තාම හොඳ ව්‍යවස්ථාවක්.
ඒ වගේම ඉතා ඉක්මනින් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වුණේ රටට ගැලපෙන දීර්ඝකාලීනව පවත්වාගෙන යා හැකි ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවක් අලුතෙන් සම්මත කර ගැනීමයි. ඒ සඳහා අවශ්‍ය පියවර ගන්න හැටියට අපි මේ අවස්ථාවේදී රජයෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
With that, a discussion between members of the government and President Gotabaya Rajapaksa is currently underway at the Presidential Secretariat on the 20th Amendment to the Constitution.
The bodies of 3 siblings who were reported missing this morning in Ranmediava of Galevela have been recovered after having tragically drowned in an irrigation canal. It is believed that the 3 siblings, 2 sisters aged 12 and 15 and their younger brother aged 7 had drowned while bathing in the Kospota canal located in the area. The bodies are currently being kept at the Galevela Hospital mortuary while further investigations are being carried out by the Galevela police. We will see you shortly. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now taking a look at the Colombo Bourse. The Colombo Stock Exchange says that a customized daily trade alert will be sent to investors at the end of trade each day. Now taking a look at the bourse itself, Sri Lankan shares ended little change today after closing up for 3 straight sessions as losses in consumer discretionary and material stocks offset gains in industrials and communication services. The benchmark all-share price index closed at 5,946.08 after gaining 2.5% in the previous week, but is still down by 2.9% for the year. Meanwhile, the S&P SL20 index of most liquid stocks gained 16.54 points to end at 2,386.97. Now here's a brief report on today's market performance.
Today we saw a marginal spike in the index during the early part of the day. After that we saw a bit of selling pressure throughout the day as the index came down. However, ended with only a marginal gain which was less than 1 point. However, if we take the overall outlook from last week, the positive sentiment has been continuing despite the selling pressure that came during the second half of the session. What we have been looking at is the construction and building material segment, which has had a bit of selling pressure during today. If you take the shares like Tokyo Cement, voting, non-voting and even ACL Cables, during the day this sector has had a bit of profit taking and there has been continuous selling pressure during the day in this segment alone. So with that we have seen a bit of a downtrend in the overall index as well.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.